welcome again to another edition of John's Media World Extra. I'm John Peterson, podcasting from Madison, Wisconsin, and we've got it going on here. We've got a governor's race with a Democratic Socialist, and that person is State Representative Francesca Hong. Now, she blanketed social media so much so that according to Up North News, Hong achieved that frontrunner status without paying for a single broadcast TV ad. But online and streaming ads were the closer, basically. It's funnier still, by the way, the ad GOP candidate Tom Tiffany is running are like ads for Hong, trying to make it seem like Hong's ideas are monstrous. They're not. And thanks for promoting her appearance, Tom. This is what the ad looks like.
The girls in New Richmond and across the state are being required to share bathrooms, locker rooms, and private spaces with people with male genitalia. What is your message to those young women and their parents who are concerned that the feelings of young males are taking priority over the rights of their daughters?
Boo. Boo.
I wonder why male reporters get access to women's locker rooms. Why we're more concerned about how people are identifying over the fact that we're not funding our schools enough, we're protecting our girls from domestic abuse, from sexual abuse, that we aren't investing
Nice applause here.
We're fighting to make sure that the WNBA players are getting a fair contract and paid as much as their male counterparts. I want to make sure that girls' sports all across the state have the investment and are competitive and are places where they feel safe. These are things that we can invest in making sure that everyone feels safe in our schools. I'm interested in making sure that people feel safe always, but it's going to take actually fixing the systemic issues when it comes to funding our schools and our local government and people having the services and the things that they need, and that's what I'll be focusing on.
Makes all the sense in the world, right? Now, I have to again thank Tom Tiffany for putting that in his ad. That's how I saw that. So, nice going, man. All right, how about creaky old Governor Tony Evers? He's a Democrat, but he doesn't understand Gen Z or millennials very much, and he made this really clueless comment the other day.
Governor, you previously were quoted as saying you think that Francesca Hong probably cannot beat Tom Tiffany. Why did you say that? Why do you think that?
I think she's in a tough place. She has spent her entire campaign dealing with not with the issues, but what's on the Twitter. And I just find that that's not a good way to beat Tom Tiffany. And if you start that way, you're going to spend your whole time doing that instead of having somebody like the county executive here talking about the issues. And it's going to be tough. I mean, do I think that it's possible she can win? But I think she's at a real disadvantage, especially since she spends a lot of time talking about Twitter. You know, she was on CNN, I think, or someplace for a couple of days in a row, talking about things that, frankly, are irrelevant. And so, yeah, it was Thanksgiving. She was talking about Thanksgiving and yeah, she really likes it, but she doesn't like it. Come on. This is about making sure the people of Wisconsin get what they need to be successful. And David has been doing that his entire life, and so that's why we're going to do whatever we can to make sure he gets across the finish line.
Well, I love that, that thing about Thanksgiving. This isn't Francesca's topic. The news media keeps bringing up some old comment that she made a long time ago and has since taken it back. And by the way, she says she's not very much fun and she doesn't like a lot of holidays. Wow. That's not her focusing on that issue. It's the media focusing on that Mr. Evers. Okay, let's get with it here. Anyway, let's get back to the fact that Tom Tiffany, he's a congressman. He's done horribly in Congress. As you know, he's made healthcare more expensive for us. Food is more expensive for us. He endorses a war. He wanted to repeal, by the way, all our votes in Wisconsin in 2020. Really, he backed the Texas effort to ban a whole bunch of voting states. So that's not a good thing to go by. All right, now let's get to this. One person wrote about Tom Tiffany's ads that contain a lot of Francesca Hong in it, says Tiffany's ads attacking Hong are practically endorsing her anyway. Plus, her base is going to be the youth vote that are online most of the time anyways. Her presence on YouTube alone is crazy. Another one said, their attack ads sound like promotional ads to me. Everything they accuse her of, I'm right on with. And still another said and lamented, boy, oh boy, she's my candidate. I've seen a lot of her and I like it.
It's time for us to revisit our tax structure, but it's about bringing people to the table. We have to look at this system holistically and not just saying tax the rich. And the reason why I say that is taxing the rich going to give us everything that we need. Are there other revenue opportunities outside of the income tax that we should be looking at to make sure the resources are available?
Do you worry that a higher tax rate on wealthy Wisconsinites could cause them to potentially move to another state where the tax rate is lower then, or?
I think that's always a possibility.
Well, you can tell he's a moderate Democrat. Really? Come on. The guy who posted this, by the way, wrote, and I believe he's absolutely right on the mark. He wrote, I really hate it when politicians reject solution X and then say, are there other solutions we should be looking at other than X? If you still need to look for solutions, go look. Don't run for office. And that again is just what a Democratic moderate would do. Other solutions, I don't want to say exactly that I would raise taxes on the wealthy. After all, they would leave our state, blah, blah, blah. Go away. All right, now let's take a look at Francesca Hong, the Democratic socialist running for governor here in Wisconsin. She was highlighted on Fox News the other day because of her dislike for holidays in general. Check this out.
You have against Halloween?
I just don't. It's kind of.
Could you stop asking me this question?
This is. I don't have anything against it. I just don't feel the need to have to participate, and it's fine for kids. This is not a I dislike. I'm not a super fun person.
There you go.
She won't be a super fun governor.
Okay, there's something I can believe.
Oh, governors are always super fun, aren't they?
How do you make them all
Yes, I can believe that. That's highly credible right there.
Yeah.
Look, you're running for governor, right? And so if you're running for the governor of a state, can't you just talk about families and good all-American things?
So why are you guys talking about her dislike for holidays?
Wrap your arms around the flag. The Democrats today, do you see a flag in these pictures? Do you see them campaigning with the American flag?
All the surfacey stuff, by the way, that's what they
in
look
America
for.
250, you don't. That's the fundamental difference. When I was in Congress and I ran, I would look for homes with flags because you know what? That's where the Republicans.
How about the agenda? Why don't you look for the agenda ones instead of flags and whatever else you can see around her?
There you go. Jason, good to catch up with you.
We'll see how good catching up with you, man. Oh, God. All right, that's Jason Chavitson. Obviously, a pundit that they rely on heavily for making stupid comments just like that one. Now, let's check in with Trump about his deeply thought-out criticism of Abdul in front of a large crowd of juvenile adults. Listen.
100%. When I watch Abdul, he's full of shit.
Oh, they love it. They haven't heard that. Swear. It's a crowd pleaser. Boy, he knows this audience, doesn't he?
Abdul, how are you doing? I'm good. I'm from Sky News in the UK. Nice to meet you. James Matthews. Very, very quick, one question. Donald Trump says that Donald Trump seems to think you're a gift for the Republican Party. What do you say to that?
Good to meet you.
Abdul, Donald Trump seems to think you're a gift to the Republican Party. What do you say to that?
I'm a gift to the state of Michigan, God willing, and hope to win this election.
And he says, if you pardon the language, you're full of shit. What do you say to that?
At least I don't let mine go in the middle of the Oval Office.
All right, now let's get to the lever with David Sirota. He got this response from El Sayed on APAC saying he is dangerous. Watch.
So let's talk about Israel. Israel has been a huge issue in this race.
They've called me the most dangerous candidate for the U.S.-Israel relationship. I'm still waiting for the T-shirt.
Yeah, so-
APAC, you watching? A black V-neck, medium, preferably. So the idea that the conversation about Israel is just about Israel misses the fact that you don't have to go very far from here to get to a school that looks like it did 30 years ago. If you were to drive out on this road here and drive for about a mile, you'd probably hit a pothole that could blow out your tire. You struggle for the healthcare you need, and meanwhile, our government sends a foreign country of 10 million people, that's like the size of the state of Michigan, billions of our tax dollars every single year. And then to watch that country do a genocide on top of the apartheid that it does on baseline, and then take us to a war that we had no business fighting, that is astounding. It's astonishing. And then to realize that there is the attempt to normalize a political action committee whose key goal it is to align our foreign policy with the foreign policy interests of that country. And then to be told you can't talk about it because, you know, if you do, it's because of your animus for any one group of people, is insane. And so, you know, I'm not going to stand idly by while we betray our own morals by backstopping apartheid and genocide. I'm not going to stand idly by while I got kids who I was responsible for taking care of in Wayne County and Detroit who go to school in school buildings that are not befitting of their little minds. And then to say that, no, I'm not going to talk about it. The point I often make is I was really blessed to grow up in a community where we had a very, very large Jewish community. I'm grateful to have spent time at Seder and in shul and at bar and bat mitzvahs, which are very fun. And I learned just how many incredible contributions the Jewish community has made to this country, how beautiful a faith the Jewish faith is. And those things are independent from the interests of a foreign government and a super PAC that exists to back that foreign government. Those are independent things. And I'll just use my own example. My family immigrated from Egypt. Egypt is the second biggest recipient of foreign military aid. Mm-hmm. I don't think Egypt should get any foreign military aid either. And so why are we funding them? So look, if that makes me anti-Egyptian, go ahead and say it, but like that's a little bit odd. And so I just think that for us, we have to identify what our principles are, that we love all people equally, and that we want to spend our tax dollars invested in our people. Those are not hard things to say, not hard things to do. It might piss off some people who really want to make sure that the interests of a foreign government are met, but I would ask how that's consistent with being focused on the interests of our own.
There you go. Great answer, and I think that should clear it up forever, but you know it won't. They'll bring it up over and over again, trying to portray him as dangerous to Israel. Now let's get to the UAW's Sean Fain. He told the lever why the union backed Abdul El Sayed.
Why did you endorse Abdul over the others? I mean, your union has a relationship with some of the other candidates in this race.
Yeah, I think, look, we put this in the hands of the members, actually. We had a lot of meetings about this, a lot of dialogue with our political leaders in the state, and a lot of discussion, really breaking down the candidates. And that's something we're doing different in UAW since I've been president. We're looking at candidates, breaking down, what do they believe, what do they truly stand for, and do they get results? And in this case, in this race, it was very apparent when you have one candidate taking corporate PAC money, another candidate that supports stock buybacks. There's only one candidate that's against both those things. And so, I talk all the time about, one of the biggest problems in this country right now, the rich, the corporate class, they've divided the working class, and they've done it by blaming things, like I said earlier, immigration, diversity, equity, inclusion, whatever they want to pick, who you love. And while we're busy pointing fingers at each other, they're taking more and more of the profits we generate. And the sad reality, like the top 26 companies where we represent workers, private companies, all over the spectrum of work that they do, made $563 billion in profits in the last decade. Out of that, they paid $530 in dividends and buybacks. 94% of the profits. While they're telling the workers we can't afford health care, we can't afford retirement security, we can't afford to pay higher wages, it's a scam, and that's what we've been dealing with my entire adult work life, and so that's what's got to change. And Abdul gets that. People forget prior to NAFTA, we had tariffs in place in auto, in heavy truck, in steel, that kept those businesses here. When NAFTA came into play in 1994, we saw the mass exodus over the next 30 years of millions of our jobs. Now, the problem with it and what's happened is the way this administration has rolled them out, it's just blanket tariffs with no logic behind it. Medicare for all is not a dream. Health care for all should be a right in this. We are the richest country in the history of the world.
There you go.
And healthcare should be a right. We rank like 26th in our healthcare. It's insane. It's criminal. So healthcare for all should be a mandate. It should be a right in this country. That is the crisis. That's what's wrong with this country. And when Abdul talks about the symptoms, he's spot on. He understands what the problem is. But that's what we got. We got to elect people that get that. And it's going to take time. But we got to keep fighting this and keep leading this fight.
And that was UAW President Shawn Fain on why the union is backing Abdul El-Sayed. And I'm so happy to hear that universal health care is top of the mind for even the UAW president and Abdul El-Sayed. Gotta love it. We've been backing universal health care for the last 2 years on my radio show, which I just lost. But still, it's picking up steam. I think almost every candidate out there is starting to talk about universal health care. It'll solve a lot of the problems, fraud including. All right, so let's have some fun here. I'm going to play you El-Sayed lip syncing to Taylor Swift's song. Now, I can't play the music because they won't allow me to play it. It'll be a silent video, but we can watch him at least perform a little bit of his lip syncing. Check it out. There he is coming out of the hotel room, I think. Moving back and forth. Checking and driving there. Look at that. There, see? Now he's up on a balcony. Now he's on the ground there dancing with a whole bunch of people, line dancing. With his cowboy hat on, his red, white, and blue cowboy hat. And there it is. That's it. Gotta like that. Okay. Now, let's get to something. I just found this, and I'm going to play it for you. If you're a parent, and you've been a parent for a while, of course, you might have watched with your kids Blue's Clues. Well, he does his best Blue's Clues in this particular ad. Check it out.
Which is why we need money out of politics, money in your pocket, and Medicare for all. Here's the mail, it never fails. Wow. It makes me want to wag my tail. When it comes, I want to wail. Thanks, mailbox. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. I wonder who it's from. Oh, it looks like my ballot. Brought to me by my Secretary of State. And with it, I can participate in democracy. The first day that I can turn this in is June 25th, but it has to be postmarked by July 21st. Or I can drop it off up until Election Day, which is August 4th. Thanks, Secretary of State. Thanks, mailbox. Folks could do, we can't do.
Check this. You gotta love that, right? I mean, that is fantastic stuff. That's Abdul El-Sayed. And that'll be it for this particular edition of John's Media World Extra. We will talk again.